One fateful night, my parents gave their lives for me.
Man the hell up, Bruce. Everyone is sick of you narrating about your dead parents.
Crime is way down since the fall of the Children of Arkham.
The Children of Arkham were only a thing for a few days, and Gotham's crime rate was sky high before they showed up. So this good news sounds more like gaslighting. I get that the Riddler has something planned, but does he really need hidden camera feeds of all these places where nothing is happening, such as the Gotham skyline, 2 separate feeds of a street, and a random hallway? The fidget spinner craze that came and went in 2017 has completely ruined an aesthetically pleasing art design that shows up in a lot of places.
Rumi Mori, import-export magnate, one-time Pipex CEO, international arms dealer. The world sees Mori as a legitimate businessman.
Well, they should. All of that stuff you just mentioned is legitimate business, even arms dealing.
If a man hides in plain sight for that long, does he forget who he really is? What do you think, Master Bruce?
If I were Bruce, I would have given Alfred an ultimatum years ago that he either stop with these loaded metaphorical questions, or do them only in the voice of Michael Caine.
He has a reputation for being lucky, but then you don't need luck when you own the house.
Doesn't that kind of defeat the thrill of gambling if you know you're going to win? Mori is already fabulously wealthy, so he isn't doing it for the money. And this isn't a CSGO lotto scam he's running where he tries to lure people here to gamble by showing his winnings.
Al, I'm hacking into Maury's phone.
You should be able to pick up audio from Maury's phone.
I see Wayne Enterprises has taken a few ideas from Facebook.
I begin and have no end, and I end all that begins. Who am I? Death, Maury. I am death.
The Riddler doesn't seem to be putting as much effort into these riddles as he's known for.
For you, an easy one. What question can you never answer yes to? The correct answer is, are you dead?
I'm beginning to sense a theme with these riddles. Hinge doors never have any kind of automatic function that allows them to be opened and closed remotely. That is normally reserved for sliding doors, and even those are done using motion sensors and not connected to a network that you could hack.
Without fingers, I point. Without arms, I strike. Without feet, I run. Who am I?
Is it death again? I don't see how it could be due to the clues, but so far, that's what these puzzles have added up to. Riddler only has one button on his staff, yet he's pressed it to lock the front doors, blow up a roulette table, and blow a hole in the wall, and then blow the chandelier free. Was all that programmed in a queue? Because I can't see how he could have had that much foresight. I think Peter Parker might have an infringement case against Bruce Wayne over that save. Got to protect the brand, you know?
You should have called us before going in, Gordon.
Gordon can't very well call someone in that he didn't even know was in town.
You don't know how glad I am you're here, working with the police.
Cause, you know, I'm useless. The tax dollars that pay my salary are wasted.
My people are trained for situations like this, Gordon. We'd have Riddler in custody if you'd only picked up the phone.
Were I Gordon, I would be asking Waller where she was during the Children of Arkham incident. After all, her people are trained for this. According to this report, Wayne Enterprises stock is at an all-time high. Not bad for a company founded by a murdering criminal that was then briefly taken over by another murdering criminal after Bruce Wayne was institutionalized.
The man is in urgent need of a doctor.
I know just the place for him. Plenty of room at Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, that place my dad used to lock away and kill his enemies. Let's stick him in there.
It's writing engraved along the rim. I have an eye, yet cannot see. Who am I?
That sounds familiar. I've heard it before.
That's because there are quite a few answers to this specific puzzle. Could be a storm, a sewing needle, or maybe even the record it's written on.
Look at these strange grooves.
It's a record, Mr. World's Greatest Detective. You just played one a minute ago.
I just talked to the board and they couldn't be more pleased with how our partnership with GCPD is going.
Before you continue, please explain why you still have a job here after you fired Bruce and replaced him with Cobblepot. That seems like the kind of mistake that would require you to pull that golden parachute and resign.
Sneaking out of orientation your first day?
I just wanted to say hi to my new boss. I got you a present.
This girl's sciences. You can tell because she made a drone and she wears a t-shirt with circuit diagrams. Clearly she's ready to take over Lucius's role as a designer of Batman's tech after Lucius' impending and not at all telegraphed by his daughter's sudden introduction death.
Tell Tiffany that I love her. That I'm sorry I wasn't around more. Lucius, we really made a difference, didn't we? Batman?
Whatever killed Lucius gave him plenty of time to get out of his office, since he contacted Bruce as soon as he figured out what the puzzle box did. Then he exploded after a lengthy goodbye.
I told you I'd see you again, didn't I? You and me, we're two threads in the same stitch.
The end of the last season implied John sent someone to kill Bruce during a press conference. What happened to that plot thread? It's never resolved or even mentioned.
I got you a little something, just to mark the occasion.
I would like to retract a previous sin I gave to the first season when I said this Joker was the worst one ever. While his part in season 1 was nothing special and only existed to set up the sequel, his role this season is one of the more interesting versions of Joker that I've seen in a long time.
So who are they?
You'll find out when you meet them. They're looking to bring someone like you into the fold.
Given who John Doe is grouped up with, I find it very hard to believe that they would want Bruce, a man who has a partnership with the GCPD, to join them.
You said you had a lead on Riddler.
Hiding somewhere in the East End.
East End's been a no man's land since Harvey Dent blew it up. The area between 42nd and 48th, more or less lawless.
I thought the crime rate was supposed to be at an all-time low, yet you have lawless sections of the city that didn't used to exist. Riddler's hideout is shrouded in green light and fog. Very subtle. Criminal mastermind who has eluded the agency and GCPD for years doesn't bother encrypting or password protecting his email on the computer he set up in a room that he expected people to find and investigate.
I recognize some of the names on this list. They're all Waller's people.
Yeah, they all have that made-up 555 phone number.
Names, addresses, phone numbers.
Just names and phone numbers, actually. Gordon has the right idea. It should be easy enough to shoot out the speakers instead of solving the puzzle. See, you didn't even need to open the correct safe and risk losing your fingers. This water tower is a giant Faraday cage. That's why Gordon and Batman couldn't send any signals out while trapped inside. Riddler, on the other hand, was able to monitor them inside it despite this.
It's a homing missile.
What does it home in on?
The signal. That's how he died.
Which makes me wonder how Lucius figured out what the puzzle box does in his final moments. All it did was broadcast a signal, yet he deduced from only that fact that a missile was following the signal back to the box.
That's how they'll all die.
Riddler.
Maury sold me missiles for all of my enemies. Everyone on my list gets one.
He's hacked their cell phones. He can pinpoint the location of any one of these operatives, and he can broadcast his signal through their phone to make them a target of a missile strike.
Riddler has to realize how easy it would be for Batman to thwart his plan now that he knows about it. All Batman has to do is call Waller and tell her to have her agents turn their phones off. This casino is open only a day after Riddler attacked it. Maury, who was nearly killed in the death tank that night, showed up as well.
Everything you need to find him is on that drive.
I just prepared this in advance in case someone came along asking for favors. The missile that killed Lucius came from this ship in the bay. You can't fire a missile through a city and not have witnesses. It happened in broad daylight after all. That missile's launcher would have been tracked down hours after it happened. If you can be this good at predicting what your enemies will do and set up something to trap them, you can just as easily set up something to kill them. You should never lose if you can think this many steps ahead.
I knew he'd lead you to me eventually. All part of the plan.
No, it wasn't. You planned to kill Maury that night, and you also planned for your puzzle box missile trap to kill Batman after that. You can't claim this is how you planned it to go down now because it looks cool.
I designed this for you, Batman. The hero who saves people will die knowing he couldn't save everyone.
Haven't seen Batman and every other hero in comic book history be confronted with this plan?
I solved a puzzle box for the Bat. Now I'm dead. And I mean dismembered. Closed casket for sure, kind of dead. Who am I? I am black and blue and bleeding from the ears. Who am I?
This is what I would expect to hear over Xbox Live, not from Batman's Rogues Gallery.
I think he means me.
No shit, lady. A glass tank would not be strong enough to protect you from multiple missiles. Just one of these things blew up Lucius's office.
This can't be happening!
It was pretty much guaranteed to happen after you sought to bring Batman into your game even though you had no reason to. Your grudge was with the agency, yet you started with Batman.
My ears! I can't hear!
You were able to hear just fine during Riddler's last riddle, and that was after the 2 sonic blasts you endured. Even though they used John's character model in the distance, later it would be revealed that it was someone other than John who killed Riddler.
This city is about to find itself in a crisis the likes of which it's never known.
Except for that whole Children of Arkham thing and the mayor running a police state.
You and I will be working together very closely. Bruce Wayne.
Batman has a terrible poker face. Despite the size of that explosion, there will be no trace of it at the GCPD armory.
Then we'll have to redeploy patrol officers to defend the arsenal.
Don't divert any men, Gordon. I can handle the arsenal call.
Thank you.
Why do you even have cops in Gotham anymore? What did you just grapple onto to leave the ship? You jumped onto the ship earlier from a bridge, but the ship has been moving this entire time and would be nowhere near it anymore.
But you can call me Bane.
I guess now we know why Bane wears the mask.
Did you get him? There is nothing to fear, my friend. Keep your eyes open. Don't let anyone follow you to the rails. Don't worry.
I'm sure Batman is dead. Now to tell my men where to go in a voice loud enough to be overheard by anyone nearby. I looked really hard through my footage, and I can't tell you how the security guard died. The last thing he did was stab Bane while he was on top of Batman. And then the next time we see him, he's dead on the ground.
Batman, I'm gonna need your help to push this thing off you.
That is how you rescue someone with possible spinal injuries. Have them push the weight off their back from a prone position. Hey, would it be awkward and embarrassing for the company if we used a real image of an assassinated Russian diplomat in our Batman game? I don't see why not. Go ahead and stick that real dead person in our video game. Just to reiterate, I want you to use a copyrighted image of a murdered political figure in our Batman game. Done. I'm going home to watch snuff films. Batman arrived at the Gotham City Police Armory at 12:44 a.m., then fought Bane and was knocked unconscious for a short period of time before rescue. He then returned to the Batcave, checked his computer and decided John Doe was the best way to infiltrate Bane's group, and left immediately to meet John at a bar. At 11:38 a.m., a time most of you will recognize as the middle of the day, yet it still looks like it's night.
Nothing bad ever happens to Bruce Wayne!
Besides the whole dead parents thing.
John Doe would be very good at sitting Assassin's Creed games. I don't really know who wrote this message and how they knew to leave it on the bar table, or how they knew Bruce would be here tonight, but I'm sure knowing that answer would only lead to more sins.
Know-it-all really got what was coming to him.
Authorities are refusing to comment on the death of the mysterious criminal known as Riddler.
Gotham City News continues to know exactly when to broadcast a report for convenient cinematic timing, and the TVs know when to mute and unmute themselves so people can tune in and out mid-conversation.
Give me one good reason why I don't redecorate the windshield with your noodle.
Because you wanted him to join your group? This whole scenario is all kinds of makes no sense. I've spent a lot of time trying to piece this together, and here's what I've come up with. John Doe was released from Arkham and for some reason was taken in by the worst criminals in the world even though he had nothing to offer them. At some point he may have mentioned that he knew Bruce Wayne from his time in Arkham, and the hardened criminals said, the guy who just partnered with Gotham City Police Department and helped bring down the crime rate to record levels after he's framed by another group of criminals? Well, that sounds like the kind of guy we want to place our trust in. Every single word I just said is pure conjecture, but it's the only thing that makes sense, and even it doesn't make sense.
I'm just joshing you, rich boy. See? There wasn't even a bullet in the chamber. Oops.
This is the first and probably only time I'm not going to hand out the usual sin of Harley Quinn not being voiced by Arlene Sorkin. Instead of copying the original Harley and getting someone to do their best impression of her voice, Telltale put their own mark on the character by making her the alpha in the Joker Harley twisted rom-com, and all I can say is that it worked way better than it had any right to.
Suck on that. I swear, it'll make your whole body shiver. Come on. Put your lips on it.
The only thing more off-putting than this conversation is how much John clearly wants to be the one sucking a metaphorical dick.
Wayne Enterprises.
A little bird told me there's some pretty fancy hacking tech up there. Something called a phalanx key.
Well, if that isn't one delayed Chekhov's gun. The phalanx key was brought up out of the blue at the end of season 1 when Catwoman stole it while trying to leave town.
So, what brings you in?
His name is on the building, and it's the middle of the day. I think that covers just about all of the reasons. It's 12:42 p.m. on a workday. Yet it's so empty at Wayne Tower, Harley can assault security and receive no response.
Do you like chess? Work your magic.
Bruce really should have changed his secret lab password after Cobblepot took over and found it. He's still using the same castling move. I get that this is a metaphor for Bruce Wayne and Batman switching places, but it makes for a crappy password. The chess pieces were in the middle of the board before Bruce moved them.
What's it do?
I'm not even sure if it works.
It's an EMP generator, Puddin'.
Apparently a degree in psychiatry gives one the knowledge to recognize an EMP generator at a glance. Tiffany locked herself in the vault and only opens from the outside when she heard people coming.
Looking for this.
How could you have known what Bruce was looking for? He only learned he was coming here to get that 30 minutes ago. And how would you know what it is even if you did? You've never seen the phalanx key before. The EMP going off should have destroyed the phalanx key Harley was holding, as well as killed Freeze's wife in stasis, destroy whatever device Bane is using to inject venom, knock out Bruce's detective vision contact lenses, and destroy any phone that these guys use regularly, since an EMP permanently fries electronics, not just deactivate them. Harley brought back a device that will screw them over just as hard as it will the police.
EMP shielding. This material will keep whatever it's insulating from being affected by the EMP blast.
Harley sure got that EMP shielding on short notice. Her plan didn't even call for using an EMP until she saw one in Lucius's lab this evening.
Riddler, he bombed your building and killed your friend. Someone did that to me. I'd bomb their building, kill their friend. As Riddler's friend, I have to know, are you here for payback?
I'm surprised Bane is the only one to see that logic. After Riddler killed Lucius, Bruce would be the last person to join the Pact.
What the hell is going on?
HQ, do you copy?
My gun, it's fried.
Guns are one of those inventions that haven't changed much in over a century. You have a bullet and a firing pin or hammer. It's all mechanical action and chemistry. What necessitated adding an electronic firing mechanism to agency guns? Bruce sent off the EMP inside the Pact stolen GCPD truck. The shielding they put on the truck would only protect it from EMP blasts from outside, so this truck should be dead. All the agency men got their hands on traditional guns somehow in the middle of a cutscene where they were all on their knees in surrender. That bullet to the shoulder will have no effect on Harley now or ever. If you recall, the same thing happened with Catwoman last season. Unless Bane unlocked his latent psychic abilities, that casket behind him is suspended on chairs with nothing to balance its left side, and now it's on the ground in the next shot without anyone moving it.
This key is yours, no? Open the box.
This is what they needed the Phalanx key for? To open Riddler's casket that could have been opened with a crowbar?
I'll open any path for the right price.
That's the voice of Laura Bailey, once again starring in a game with Troy... Oh, hell with the sin. Look, they're in a lot of games together, okay?
Riddler built a secret back door into the security system of his old employer. I need to scan his eyes and then create a retinal key for them.
I thought that was what the Phalanx key already did. Harley got her hands on the master key to basically everything so she could open a casket to scan Riddler's eyes to create another key.
I didn't know what I'd be walking into with this group, but I certainly didn't expect it to involve you.
Didn't you swear off Gotham City last season because of how dangerous it had become? Yet here you are again working for criminals that are just as dangerous as the children of Arkham. Harley managed to fight off a street full of armed agency men all by herself and nothing but a hammer. Keep in mind, she had a shoulder wound, so swinging a hammer around should have been impossible.
Did it occur to any one of you people that the job we just pulled went sideways a little too quick? I think they knew we were coming, because a little rat told them.
Well, you didn't have any information leaks until now. What change was made to your group minutes before you attacked the convoy? Maybe start with a new guy who doesn't have a very believable reason for being here.
I know just about everything about Riddler's plan, but he kept one card close to his chest. The location of the job.
Riddler was seeking vengeance against the agency for what they did to him, and he already knew where the rogue agency black site where he was experimenting on was located in Gotham. Yet instead of telling his partners about it and attacking that first, he decided to provoke Batman, who had nothing to do with him, and go after agency personnel who were not part of the rogue operation. Would a middle-aged, insane supercriminal really use a laptop covered with the kind of graphic stickers a high school kid would find cool?
I want you to head over to Riddler's place and do some digging.
I might need some help. That place is full of death traps.
Harley should be wondering how Bruce knows where Riddler's place is and what's inside it, seeing as there would be no reason why Bruce Wayne would know any of that. That seems like a huge risk to have photo background alerts of Waller when she calls you while you're working undercover.
Do you know what their end goal is yet?
No one's talking.
Well, you could tell her that they are searching for an agency black site somewhere here in the city. Can't be too many of those. Riddler had a second trap set up inside this water tower. Riddler went to all the trouble of hiding his computer underground and encrypting it, but then left a USB stick with a decryptor on it right next to his computer.
I should have come back sooner and reeled Riddler in, but I didn't. Knowing he was tangled up with Sanctus, and what he did to Lucius. This is my fault. My mess to clean up.
When did you develop such a martyr complex? Last time, when things got tough and a lot of it was your fault, you fled town. If you slip handcuffs on someone, make sure whatever it is fastened to the floor. Otherwise, you just chain them to a weapon. What kind of coffee shop is open at 4:28 in the morning? Rorschach tests will always have a design that will look relevant to the past of the person looking at it, and it's not because you see what you want to see in one. The ink blots always come off a bit too manufactured and entertainment, so you can't help but see the things the storyteller wants you to see, making the test pointless.
I can keep an eye on Bruce Wayne. Damn it, I'm not asking for an eye. I want him delivered. Here, with a little bow.
And then what? That would hardly be legal, and a billionaire's lawyers would tear you apart for using a vigilante to arrest someone with no warrant.
I know your friend Catwoman's in town. As soon as I get back to the office, I'm sending out a task force after her. And you better not tell her we're coming.
Maybe don't tell him that then, since you know they worked together in the past.
Don't go, Gordon. I've got a city to save.
That's not how shadows work. Due to diffraction, the further away a shadow is from the source creating it, the more blurry it becomes. Of course, this also means the bat signal wouldn't work either, but I guess I have to cut that one some slack.
Quite the coincidence that we find ourselves here again.
I wouldn't call it a coincidence. I would cough while saying, bullshit! I mean, why even run to the top of City Hall building after stealing Riddler's laptop from Harley? Besides giving Telltale a reason to reuse assets from Season 1. When does Bruce sleep? I've been paying attention to these timestamps, and there is no way he's worked in even a few hours for rest over the past 3 days.
I came back to stop Harley's so-called Pact. The Eddie I knew would have wanted that.
But the Pact was working for Riddler and carrying out the plan he left behind.
I'm Batman.
Not enough growl in that, I'm afraid. You have to say it like you know how dumb it sounds, but you're still getting paid for it.
I can't put an agent within 1,000 yards of that place without them starting a war or blowing up the entire block just to cover their tracks.
We know it's tricky, but leading Harley and her gang into Sanctus might allow the two problems to take care of themselves.
So Sanctus might blow up the entire street or whatever to cover its tracks if the agency moves on the black site, but not if a group of criminals go after them? Sanctus has to know that the Riddler was there for them, so they would have been planning a contingency for that as well. Thermal vision can actually see through walls. You still need line of sight.
I heard the GCPD paid you a visit at your office, so I swung by to see if you might be in need of some aid.
The police were there for scant minutes before Waller kicked them out, and if you had heard that the police showed up, you should have also heard that the agency was there.
When I told Puddin' I narrowed it down to you two, he begged me to let him interrogate you. I gave him some pointers, and now this is his chance.
So far, Harley's been pretty smart in the way she's handled things, except for right now, when she puts John in charge of interrogating Bruce when she knows the two of them are close friends. Freeze can cover something in ice in seconds with his arm gadget. His cryo chamber, on the other hand, takes quite a while. Also, this technically wouldn't kill Bruce. Freeze's wife isn't the same thing after all. The whole point of it is it keeps you alive through cryogenics. All of us have sadistic personalities, but this one time we don't feel like watching someone die a horrible death. Laters.
Waller.
If your phone is incapable of contacting Waller from inside a cryo chamber, it also shouldn't be able to connect to the EMP to free you. There are only two outcomes to the slumped over person sitting in a chair cliché. Either it will be an actual dead person, or it will be a fake out like a mannequin. Either way, the only time when you are supposed to use it is when the slumped over body might be someone important to the plot, and not a never seen before character whose death has zero effect on anything.
Are you sure? With that injury?
I don't recall needing your permission for anything, Batman. I've won fights with a lot worse than this.
Yeah, like a point-blank shotgun round. This little scratch seems to hinder her a lot more than that did, though.
What made you think you'd be able to stop all of us?
Not to crush your pride, but he probably only considered Bane and Freeze to be the real threats. Batman may be against using guns, but he gets around that by stabbing the hell out of people. That should contaminate the entire lab with the virus, but doesn't.
No! I'm infected!
This is starting to turn into a Resident Evil game.
Now get out of here.
See you around sometime.
I'll see you in the next episode where you'll be a prisoner of the agency anyways.
Freeze must have an idea about where she'd go in these circumstances.
Don't waste your time with that maniac.
Don't waste your time questioning our one lead.
Hey, Will. Give me a hand with this, will you? I think there may be something we can salvage back here.
Sure, I'll leave the dangerous and virus-infected criminal without a guard to help you move something.
My Nora will perish if I don't use Lotus to save her.
Actually, there is a good chance she's already dead. Bruce activated the EMP in the base where you kept her, and in a short while, that place will be raided by the agency.
Bane merely hoped to cure himself of his addiction.
Maybe the Lotus virus could heal Freeze's wife and cure Harley's mental condition, but how would a virus cure Bane of his venom addiction? I'm pretty sure airlocks are not designed to have that kind of temperature range.
You don't know I'm the one that told Waller who you really are.
If all it takes is a psych evaluation, then there are many thousands of psychologists the world over who should know Batman's identity, including Harley Quinn.
We call it a liminal device, a not quite as powerful phalanx key.
I call it plot convenience.
You steered me wrong at every turn, every bad piece of advice.
John is coming down with a case of telltale asshole syndrome, where a character who you've been supportive and friendly to inexplicably begins acting like an asshole because that's the way the character was written, and no amount of supportive choices can change that. This clock on the wall says it's 4:15, yet the on-screen text said it was 9:41.
Al!
Bruce is really lacking in peripheral vision if he had to follow this trail before seeing Alfred lying on the ground a few feet away. We need some pudding cups and a Price is Right marathon. A life is at stake.
What's the matter? Thomas, let's chat.
Alfred is having some strange symptoms of someone suffering from post-traumatic stress. This is more akin to Alzheimer's.
It appears that Lotus can be synthesized into a restorative agent for the human body. A remarkable one.
Well, Freeze got that part right, but
as soon as Lotus repairs any physical problems, it causes irreparable damage to the subject's brain chemistry.
Batman and Alfred discover this after analyzing a scan from Riddler's body. The members of the Pact don't know that the virus will drive them insane. They've had Riddler's body for days, knew that Riddler wasn't himself in his final years, and never bothered doing research on the virus in Riddler's system. And don't tell me that they couldn't have. They had Freeze and Harley among them. One a medical doctor researching diseases, and the other a psychiatrist. One is going to know a lot about viruses, and the other is going to know a lot about brain chemistry. Also, the Pact had been after this virus, yet they never extracted the virus from Riddler's body once they retrieved it, and Riddler is still infected with it since that's what Bruce scanned. Also, how the hell does a virus repair damage to your body? A virus does one thing: invade healthy cells and hijack them to make copies of itself, and in the process, destroys the healthy cell.
I started thinking about a tactical suit, in case I'm ever needed in the field.
I think Blizzard might have a case, because your design was already pretty close to Sombra. Add the machine gun and hacking skills, and what you've designed is a bad Overwatch skin that you would get all the time in loot boxes instead of the legendary or event skin you actually want.
So I designed you this.
Well, it would make for a decent Counter-Strike Global Offensive skin, but anyone who's remotely familiar with Batman knows that he doesn't use guns. That skyline is looking a little bright for 11:28 p.m. Gotham must have an excess of abandoned carnivals and circuses, because they always seem to pop up when Joker and Harley are involved.
The agents, they came looking for her. They're not supposed to just start shooting, Bruce.
How did they find this place, though? Granted, my first choice would be the abandoned carnival as well, so maybe they just got lucky.
You've been using me from the start! At least have the decency to admit it!
It's not true, John. I care about you. As a friend, I really do.
Say that! We both know that's a lie!
He's got a point. The game wants Bruce to develop a real friendship with John, but due to John's behavior and actions, there is no way that friendship would ever exist. Bruce has already been through this exact scenario twice already with Cobblepot and Harvey.
Bat! You can't fool a friend. Someone who really takes the time to look. You kinda gave it away with the laptop.
That, and Bruce disappeared that one time during coffee as soon as the bat signal appeared.
You think you can use that against me? As blackmail?
Well, Waller is. Seems pretty effective. There's a woman with a deadly virus and a bomb on this bridge threatening to blow it up, and the agency hasn't bothered evacuating all the motorists backed up behind the police line.
I'll blow this bridge to hell if you don't give me Riddler's blood!
I just thought of this, but you probably wouldn't want to use Riddler's blood in the serum. He was killed by a dart loaded with concentrated toxins. There's a good chance his blood would kill you.
The virus. Please.
I don't think so. I don't think anyone should have this. Least of all you.
While John is correct to not trust the agency with the Lotus virus, he was at the lab where hundreds of vials of the virus were kept, which the agency is now in control of. So regardless of whether he gives them the vial or not, they still have easy access to others. And without Riddler's blood, which was destroyed, the virus is completely worthless.
What the heck? What's wrong with this thing? Come on. Why won't you just work?
This was a funny joke in The Dark Knight. It's been less funny every time the Joker has used it in another piece of entertainment since. That bomb was supposed to blow up the bridge and kill everyone on it. All it did was blow up a few cars. John survives this, and I'm left wondering how Bruce got off the bridge while avoiding arrest by the agency. Riddler's water tower has overstayed its welcome with his third appearance in the game.
You're on Waller's most wanted list as well.
It's been 9 days since the incident on the bridge, and Waller hasn't revealed Batman's identity or even contacted him during that time.
If you're helping John Doe, you're the enemy too.
Fire!
Batman really didn't think this confrontation through very well, kind of out of character for him. There is a scene you can get in this game where Batman shows John how to throw batarangs. I never got that scene due to my choices, yet John is still an expert at throwing them with what could only be a week of training. Hell, in just a week's time, John built a grapple that is just as good as Batman's, put together a gang, and leveled up his hand-to-hand martial arts skills. It took Bruce years and billions of dollars to get to this point.
It's Joker now. I tried out a few other ones. Birdman, Hawkman, Fox Batman, the Giggler, Chuckle Master, Lord of the Laughs, and the Joke Man.
2 of those names are not like the others. 2 of those names just doesn't belong.
Wait a second! Wasn't that Harrison guy, like, right over there?
Even agency guys are now trained to disappear the instant anyone turns their back. This one would have had to walk right past Batman and Joker's gang to get to the other side of the yard.
I'll lure Bane under that smokestack, then you knock it over.
Bane doesn't hear Batman loudly stating the plan right in front of him. I don't care how much venom he's on. A falling smokestack will still crush him.
You would work with such a man? A murdering coward!
Suddenly, Bane has some high standards for who one should work with. Apparently, helicopters can't follow you if you run a few feet down an alley. Bruce takes off his cowl in an alley right next to a street where anyone can walk by or look out a window and see his face. Self-surgery has become something of a staple in Telltale games, and I'm not exactly sure why. Also, that's the same exact bottle of hydrogen peroxide that Clementine used in Season 2 of The Walking Dead.
John Doe and the virus. In 2 hours. Or I go public with your identity.
You could have made this demand days ago.
I could put just the slightest hint of virus in Waller's shampoo. Or maybe her perfume.
Sounds crazy, but that was Joker's plan in the first Tim Burton Batman movie.
Heroes don't resort to murder to solve their problems.
There's that standard Telltale text joke about someone remembering something. Happens every game now. The Batmobile has a device for destroying viruses now? That seems way too specific to have been in the original specs.
I need some information on her. Something to negotiate with.
When do you need it?
I'm meeting her at the GCPD in 2 hours.
Meet me on the roof in 1.
That way, Waller can confront us by suddenly appearing and we won't have to bother explaining why she's there. I mean, we could meet anywhere, but I like a little plot convenience in my life.
Well, well, well.
There was a door opening sound effect right before Waller appeared, yet she's standing in the middle of the roof next to no door.
They all work for me now. A special task force for special problems.
Waller goes to special lengths to avoid mentioning the name Suicide Squad, and I can't say I blame her.
You know why they call me the Wall Batman?
Because your name is Waller? Waller doesn't even open that PDF to see what dirt is on it, but changes her mind about revealing Batman's identity anyways. I am so sick of sending this series for consequence-free shoulder wounds. Where was he even hiding those? Batman was blown backwards by the explosion, but somehow fell through the floor, and that bomb blew holes through every floor in the building before he even started falling. This is a scene Troy Baker characters find themselves in way too often.
This Joker? From the start, John has hung on your every word. Bend over backwards to please you. Your influence is everywhere in him.
Yes, that's a series theme so far, Alfred. Joker, Harvey, Cobblepot, Vicky Vale. Am I missing anyone? They even gave her dead parent motivation. How could she not become your sidekick?
The water tower, where Joker set his ambush for the agency. It's still an active crime scene.
Again? I know Telltale has to reuse assets in these games, but this is getting ridiculous.
A Maker's Mark. WD. Willie Deaver, Joker's associate.
If you were making weapons for a deranged vigilante, it's not the best of ideas to put a maker's mark on it so someone can use it to track its origin.
I'm here on agency business.
I seem to recall Harley being obsessed with curing herself of her condition. What happened to that motivation? The agency may be a corrupt organization, but firing on local cops on the orders of Harley seems a step too far into the moral event horizon. The police just wave off the agency helicopter like it didn't just try to kill them.
You'll live the rest of your life under the agency's thumb.
No, that ain't how this works. I'm doing this thing on my terms, no one else's.
Who's wearing the shot collar again? Every location in this game has looked modern, except for Ace Chemicals, which looks like it came straight out of the Tim Burton Batman movie.
You killed the Riddler, and then you tried to pin it on me!
It's actually really strange that Batman never seemed to care about who murdered the Riddler.
Waller didn't kill Riddler. I did.
Well, they used Joker's character model shrouded in shadows back when the Riddler died. Then there is the fact that you didn't even know the Riddler was responsible for your father's death at that time. And finally, you had no way of knowing where Riddler would be that night to kill him. So this is not so much a twist as it is bullshit.
Because of you, I believed in you, Batman. Like I never believed in anything. And it was all a lie!
Unlike the first season where they were going for this kind of impact with multiple characters, this time they freaking nailed it. John's transformation into the Joker is a fantastic moment, and the fact that they did it in two different believable ways based on your choices makes it even more impressive. Amazing what Telltale can do when they're not pumping out Minecraft games.
Did you ever think of me as your friend?
Seriously, this moment is so good. Shouldn't Bruce be at least a little worried Joker might reveal his identity? Would have helped had you zoomed in enhanced days ago after Riddler's death. This Alfred is leaving because he can't stand to watch Bruce destroy himself and everyone around him. Speech goes on forever. Better Alfreds have had this moment and got the point across in just a few minutes. Regardless of whether you choose to give up being Batman or Alfred, you can bet this is one choice that will be short-lived in the sequel. Sequel baiting.